Hi, and welcome to the Apollo Root Cause Analysis RCA team member overview. Judging from the fact that you're watching this, I assume you've probably been appointed to a RCA team, and perhaps you're not familiar with the Apollo method, or maybe you're just looking for a little refresher. So what are the overview objectives? First, we want to make sure all team members have the knowledge and skill to participate and contribute in the RCA analysis from the beginning to the end. How do we do that? Well, we want to introduce the team members to a few basic concepts. First, we want to go over the ground rules for conducting the RCA. Then we want to go into the Apollo methodology. What is it and how does it work? We want to talk about root cause. How does Apollo define root causes? And then finally, how does the Apollo method prevent the incident from recurring? First off, though, I'd like to go over some quotes from your VP of Business Operations, Mr. John Sampson, who, by the way, is an advocate of root cause analysis and the Apollo method. One of Olin's values is continuous improvement and innovation. One key way to make this value a reality is through excellence in root cause analysis. RCA enables us to define the causes of nonconformance or unplanned events. RCA excellence means that we should be able to permanently eliminate the issue by changing our process or approach. So as you can see, he's a believer, and he's definitely a believer in RCA. So what are our ground rules? Well, the facilitator is going to lead the RCA process. Your facilitator has been trained in both the RCA methodology and the facilitation process. Keep in mind, we're here to fix the problem. We're not looking to place blame. If we can minimize our side conversations, it's going to make the process go fast, smoothly, and efficiently. And everyone's here to contribute. You're on this team for a specific reason. You probably have skills or knowledge of the incident that are necessary to do a thorough RCA, so please contribute. There are a number of steps, if you will, through the methodology. The facilitator is going to work us through that, and we want to be patient and be sure that we follow these steps. And we want to encourage an open dialogue with no judging of ideas at this point. Keep in mind, we're not looking for necessarily the right answer, but we're looking for best solutions. And the solution process is going to come after we've done the analysis and we've created the cause and effect chart. So the Apollo method is pretty straightforward for us. I would assume at this point the RCA is going to happen after the initial investigation, so you should have a lot of good information that we can use for the RCA. And Apollo is based on identifying and documenting cause and effect relationships. There are 4 distinct steps through the Apollo process. And then our solutions we're going to apply to specific causes that we've identified through the analysis. And we want to apply as many solutions as we reasonably can. So what are the 4 steps of the Apollo method? The first is we define the problem. The facilitator will lead a discussion about the problem definition so that we get everyone on the same page. Step 2, we do the analysis. And we reflect these cause and effect relationships that we identify on a cause and effect chart. In Apollo, that chart is called a reality chart. Step 3, now we can identify effective solutions. In the 4th step, we want to implement the best ones and track them for effectiveness. So defining the problem, the first question we ask is, what is it? We call it the primary effect. Second question, when did this happen, or when is it occurring? Where did it happen? And finally, significance. What are the consequences of this? How important is it? Why are we working on this? This is an example of a properly defined problem. The what, in this case, we defined it as main transformer T01 exploded. When? 9:15 hours on August 18th, 2017. That's our chronological when. We can also have a relative when. What was happening at the time? It was during a heat lightning storm. Our where, we want to start with the macro and drill down to the detail. Wenatchee, Washington, in the smelter room, pot rooms, and finally line 5. And we can also have a relative wear. Our significance, this would be our standard model of significance. The first question we ask is about safety. Was anyone injured or was there potential for injury? In this case, yes, we had potential for multiple burns and serious injuries. Environmental, in this case, the context is regulatory. So we had potential fine for exceeding our MAC compliance limit. Revenue. Metal production loss, $30,000. So we lost $30,000 in sales we can't recuperate. And finally, additional costs. Well, we had labor to restart the pots for $30,000, and the exploded transformer repair was worth $2.5 million. So you can see this incident cost a total of $2.56 million. And then frequency. In this case, it was first time in 5 years. So we've done step 1. We've defined our problem. Now we're ready to do the analysis and create the cause and effect chart. 2 important cause and effect characteristics are what we want to touch on first, though. One is that for an effect to occur, we have to have at least 2 causes in the forms of actions and conditions. So you can see for this immediate effect, we have to have at least 1 action cause and 1 condition cause. And notice we're starting with the incident or the present, and we're going backwards in time asking the question why or caused by or what caused this. So what are actions and conditions? Actions are causes that are going to imply motion or a change of state relative to that immediate effect. Whereas conditions, they're going to be static relative to that immediate effect. They're going to exist over time. So as an example, me moving this mouse around, moving the cursor, is an action. The existence of the mouse and the fact that the mouse is in my hand are both conditional causes. So you can see actions imply motion, conditions are static. So potentially, since we're starting with the incident and going backwards in time, there could be an infinite set of causes. So if we take the pump failure, we'd have an action, condition, and so on and so forth. So you can see we could go exponential. 2 causes, 4 causes, 8 causes, 16, 32, and so on. But the reality of it is we do have what we call filters of this infinite set that prevent us from going back. So as an example, if this were a pump failure, one of the actions might be because the bearing cracked, and the condition is because the bearing exists. The pump has a bearing. Do we need to know why the bearing exists? And the answer, of course, is no. That's a desired condition. So this infinite set would terminate right here. So step 2, continue creating the reality chart. Cause and effect analysis. So there are basically 5 fundamental elements to the chart. The primary effect. Then we have the action and condition causes, 1 of each at a minimum. There's usually going to be more than 1 of each, but at a minimum, we want to identify at least 1. We're going to connect all these causes with our cause by brackets to help keep the chart organized. Then evidence. We have to cite evidence to validate that these causes actually exist. And finally, a reason for stopping that cause path. And you can see we have 2 options. We have a stop sign, which means it's a desired condition, and more information needed, which is signified by the question mark. So if we take that our pump failed, we mentioned our bearing exists. We mentioned before that's a desired condition, so that becomes our stop. Whereas the bearing cracked, we want to know what caused that bearing to crack. So we need more information. This becomes an action item and goes into an action item list in the software. So when we're constructing the chart, we're going to find that it's an iterative process. We're looking for multiple causes. First, we identify what we know that's obvious and we get it on the chart. In this case, we have a broken wrist. Why? It was caused by a person falling. So now we evaluate this further and look for additional causes. Well, broken wrist caused by the person fell and the hand stopped the fall. Once again, we take a third look. broken wrist caused by wrist position and excessive force. Excessive force was caused by the person fell, hand stopped the fall, and there was significant body weight to cause the break. And we could even look further for more causes in between here. So as you can see, it's clearly an iterative process. We identify what we know, and then we look for missing causes. And we do that by labeling our actions and conditions. So after that first iteration, the team will label the causes as either actions or conditions. Why? That's going to show us what chart might be missing on the chart, what actions and conditions. Remember that second principle, for each effect, we must have at least one action and one condition. So if we see an effect that has just one action or one condition or two conditions and no action, it's telling us that something is missing. And then we want to go through another iteration and see if we can identify what that might be. And keep in mind that there's no perfect chart. So the team may not always satisfy that second principle. You may have actions with no conditions or vice versa. So causal language is very important as well. We want to be as specific as we can. Causes are generally going to be captured in 2 to 6 word statements. Conditions can use unstated verbs. As an example, instead of bearing exists, we could just say bearing. Actions use active noun-verb statements, such as the pump failed or the chlorine leaked. And we want to avoid nondescript language. Words like poor, inadequate, lack of, these are all subject to interpretation by different people. And conjunctions might indicate we have 2 causes in one cause box. So if you see words like and, but, or, take a good hard look, and if they are indeed 2 causes in one box, you'll want to break those out and put them in their separate boxes. Evidence. We mentioned evidence is quite important, very important. Why? It's going to validate the causes on the chart. It's going to help us have confidence that our solutions are going to work. And also, it's very good at reducing bias or hidden agendas from penetrating the chart. Now, if we have possible causes that we don't have evidence for yet, we do want to include those on the chart. And we're going to use a question mark and keep that in the evidence box until such time we find evidence to either prove it existed or evidence to show that, no, this was not a cause. Now, your facilitator will likely be wanting to include what we would normally consider trivial and obvious causes on the chart. As an example, if something fell and broke, gravity would be one of the causes. If a door got jammed, the door exists would be a cause. If something broke, sufficient force caused it. But we do want to keep these on the chart. Number one, it only takes about 5 seconds to capture the cause on the chart, so it's not like we're wasting a lot of time doing this. The other thing is, we're not going to know if these trivial causes are going to bring value until we've gone through the solution process. And by the way the system works, if the cause is not on the chart, you're not going to challenge it for a possible solution. So we do want to include these so-called trivial causes on the chart. So we've done our analysis, we've created our cause and effect chart, so now we're ready for the solution process. So how do we find effective solutions? We have 4 simple steps. The first is we're going to challenge each cause by asking how we can remove, change, or control it, and we're going to offer up all the possible solutions that we come up with. The next step, we don't want to restrict any ideas. We want to brainstorm and not worry about whether it's going to be a rational solution or not at this point. It's too early in the process for that. We just want to get the ideas out and recorded. Third step, once we're done brainstorming, then we're going to check each solution using a set of criteria to see whether or not it's something that makes sense. And the fourth step, we want to implement those solutions that are going to best pass our criteria. So the solution process, your facilitator will likely start in the upper right-hand corner of the chart. From there, you're going to challenge each cause on that chart for a unique possible solution. We're going to ask the question, what can be done to remove, change, or control this cause such that that immediate effect, not the primary effect, but the immediate effect will not happen again? We want to brainstorm for the possibilities. Get outside the box with your thinking and come up with some creative ideas. We don't want to have a debate on the merits of these possible solutions yet. It's too early in the process. Now, once all the ideas are out, then we're going to use the solution criteria to decide which solutions make sense and maybe which ones don't. And keep in mind, too, that our best solutions are often going to be applied to these conditional-based causes. So what are our solution criteria? The first question we ask, is this solution going to prevent recurrence of the cause? The second question is it within our control? Can we write a work order? Can we write a CapEx? Can we get our boss to support it? Third question, does it meet our goals and objectives? By that we mean, is it within our budget? Is it safe, environmentally sound, ethical? All the things that we individually and as a company are held accountable for. And finally, we want to make sure that the solution does not cause any other unacceptable problems elsewhere. So how do we figure out and determine what we're going to call root causes? If we take this example here, our primary effect, our immediate effect, if you will, is an open flame. Well, we've identified 3 conditional causes that exist. We know we have combustible materials, we have a match, and we have oxygen present. So now we need an action, which in this case, somebody picks up the match, strikes it in the presence of the oxygen and the combustible materials. The end result of these 4 causes, the end effect, is this open flame. So I like to ask the question here, so which is the root cause of the fire? Usually I get the response, well, the match strike, the action. Well, that could be true, but at the same time, what if we eliminate the oxygen? Do we get a fire? The answer is no. What if there's no matches around to pick up and strike? Same answer, no fire. What if there are no combustible materials to burn? We still don't get a fire. And likewise, if no one strikes that match in the presence of the oxygen and combustible materials, we don't get a fire either. So, which of these would be the root cause of our fire? The answer, in Apollo, causes become root causes when we apply an effective solution to them. So if you can see, if we have 3 effective solutions that we're going to apply to 3 causes, then we've discovered 3 root causes to that primary effect. Keep in mind, it's the effective solutions that are going to prevent recurrence of the incident that we're looking for, and not the so-called quote-unquote root cause. We also want to strive for multiple solutions. The value, they're going to significantly reduce the chance of that incident recurring. It's very much like an insurance policy. If one solution fails, the others are going to still serve as a barrier to prevent the recurrence. So statistically, you can see they're going to greatly reduce that chance of incident recurrence. Does that mean the fire will never happen again? No, but it will mean it's not going to happen this way again. So how do the solutions ultimately work? They're going to change, control, or eliminate the individual causes. So if we eliminate this action, that means this effect cannot happen. Likewise, if we eliminate this conditional cause, same thing. It means that effect will not happen. So what we do is we rely on our causal logic in a cascading effect through the chart to ultimately prevent the primary effect from happening again. So keep in mind, it's the effective solutions that we're looking for and not the so-called quote-unquote root cause. Well, that concludes our webinar for this time. And if there are any questions or comments, please feel free to contact me at any time. Again, my name is Bruce Ballinger. There's my contact information. And thank you and have a great day going forward.